wanted to start with is kind of why I chose LinkedIn for focus today. While it's not the largest social media platform, it does have some advancements that others do not. So I pulled some fun stats just to give everybody a little background on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn turned 19 years old this year. It is one of the largest employment networks in the social media suite. Some of the cool things I discovered were 6 people are hired through LinkedIn every minute of every day, which is kind of wildly interesting if you think about it. I also noted that 30% of companies' engagement on LinkedIn comes directly from employees. And when I was at AdWorld, there was a whole discussion about engagement on platforms, and LinkedIn seems to be the largest opportunity for engagement, which our Q3 numbers definitely show that in the measure of growth and post engagement. That's why I decided to focus on LinkedIn. So we'll get started. So first steps to building a really amazing LinkedIn profile, and please don't look at mine and compare because the cobbler's children have no shoes. But I am working on implementing some of these updates so that I am practicing what I preach, but did a little bit of research. And I think really where most folks should start with their profile building is keywords. Just like any other social or digital platform, keywords and the way that the algorithm reads your profile and optimizes that profile is based on the language that you use. So just to give some resources in gathering what those keywords may or may not look like, you can either use Ubersuggest, which is a free resource, or Google Keyword Planner. They also recommended that just open up LinkedIn, type in a word that you think is relevant to your job tasks, job function, or how you're going about recruiting on LinkedIn, and see what populates from that keyword. And if the content aligns with your job task or job search, then add that to your list of keywords. I would say a good space to have probably about 30 to 50 keywords that you're optimizing throughout your entire profile. You can start small with 10, but the more you have, the more optimized for reach your profile becomes. And of course, I'll send all of this out after the lunch and learn. But I put a couple pro tips in some of these slides, and just pro tip, when you do the research, incorporate it everywhere you possibly can. And we'll get into what those spaces will look like. Any questions here? Quiet crowd. All right, so let's start with your profile. So within the top toolbar of your profile, you're going to have a headline and your name. There's a lot of opportunity in your headline for you to really succinctly describe what it is that you do. I am using Mandy McEwen, who is the founder and CEO of Mod Girl Marketing, which is a really awesome digital and SEO company. And she does this literally for a living. So her LinkedIn is probably the most optimized profile out there. But you'll see she lists her name, and then she has a multitude of headlines. And it's really just explaining what she does and the different facets of what she does. And you'll see that she's using a lot of keywords in here. So social selling, personal branding, LinkedIn response, keynote speaker. And then she's also implemented some hashtags in here, which the algorithm definitely searches by hashtag, which we'll get into that when we talk about publishing on LinkedIn. But I would say once you have those keywords, hashtags like B2B or hashtag AmeriCorps recruitment, like those types of things that you've researched in your keywords, include them in that top toolbar of your profile, because it gives people a very simple and succinct way that, say you reach out for a recruitment message in your inbox, then they're going to click on your profile before they ever respond. So they're going to go and look and see, who is this person? What do they do? And what do they want with me? So make sure it's very descriptive, again, including those keywords. The pro tip for this is never use proper case every time. Don't put things in all caps to try to draw attention to them. Spammers do this a lot, and it'll automatically get you flagged by the algorithm if they see something in all caps. So make sure you're using proper case use. And then for your name, again, don't put your name in all caps. You'll see people do this very, very often. Again, it'll get you flagged, but make sure that it includes any credentials that you have, and space those using grammatical spaces. So using a hyphen bar or a quotation bar or a segmented straight line bar to kind of break up what it is that you're trying to say. And then we'll get into photos. I did use mine as a great example. I will say your photo, so you have two spaces for photos. You have a profile photo and then you have a cover page photo. Your profile photo should have you, should really feature you, should be centered, it should be clear, it shouldn't be fuzzy, shouldn't be you at the club, it should be very professional. And you can easily take a great profile picture utilizing your cell phone. You don't have to have professional shots done to make this look good. My big pro tip here is if you do want to take self-portraits, use the portrait mode on your phone to really block in your space. Be very aware of your background. You don't want a lot of busyness. You want something that's pretty simple and plain so that people can see your face. It can either be a waist up headshot or a full body headshot. It's completely dependent on what you're comfortable with. And then your cover photo is a bit more open in space of creativity of what you can do here. I utilized a photo that I actually took somewhere, and it's interwoven in my personal website. So I wanted to kind of match my LinkedIn profile with my personal website so that if people are seeking services or people that I'm working with can get a good understanding of what it is that I do and what type of content that I make. Make sure you look happy in your profile picture. File types are JPEG, PNG. Again, I will send this deck at the end of it. And test out a couple different photos. You know, if you're taking self-portraits, take a few from a few different angles. And then as you're adding them into your profile, you can kind of see what works best. And then into experience on your profile. So you always want to list your current position at the top of your profile. You want your experience to run in sequential order. You don't have to list every single job you've ever had. You do have a choice. It's okay to have employment gaps on your LinkedIn profile. It is certainly not the end of the world. You want to feature the jobs that really have to do with what you're currently working in or where you're striving to go with your personal career. I do encourage if you were, if you were at one company for a very long period of time and you changed roles, make sure you list those changes in roles so that people can either see your personal employment growth, or they can see kind of what all experience you have within one company space. So of course, Mandy McEwen does an amazing job. So I took a quick screenshot. Highly recommend y'all go visit her profile on LinkedIn and see what she's doing. She uses literally every bell and whistle that LinkedIn has to offer. If you have multiple areas of focus, so let's say you worked in project management, but now you have a very administrative job. Well, the two can tie together in skill set. So make sure that you list out anything that you think is really important for what you're trying to position yourself as on LinkedIn. Doesn't necessarily have to be like a CV or a resume. You have a little bit of creative control there to list what you want people to see and what you want to feature. Back to the keyword piece, use every possible keyword in your tool belt when you're writing the description of what you performed, what skills you gained in those job roles. Those keywords, again, are super important in your searchability and outreach efforts. And then into your summary. So this is where you have a lot of characters and a bit more space on your profile to really talk about who you are and what you do. I think the most important thing is that your profile should be about who is seeking you, not what you think it should be. So you're, again, integrating those keywords that you initially searched. You are utilizing different font types. Feel free to list out skill sets, which if you check out my profile, I have, a quick little paragraph and then a list of all the skills. I could probably go in and do a lot more better describing of what those skills are and how I've leveraged them. I recommend using keywords, embedding links that, if you have proof of work of something that you've done somewhere or a program that you launched that was really successful and you have a website that you can track people back to, make sure to include any feature media in your about section. I'm a big proponent of using emojis. I think they showcase a bit of personality and a little bit of fun that you don't take yourself so seriously. It's a personal choice. You can do whatever you want in this space, but it's really important that you leverage what it is that you actually want people to know about you and your skill set and your past employment experience. So keep in mind that you're always talking to your key target audience and, of course, leveraging those keywords that you initially researched. And then into education and skills. I recommend people list not just your higher education, so college degree or higher, but you can also list non-traditional education here, which I think applies to a lot of people who have college degrees or don't have college degrees. But if you have a certification, if you're a certified, electrician or plumber or, whatever that skill set may be, make sure that you have it listed in your education, because then other institutions can see, what experience and what certification you're bringing to the table. And then in your skills, select at least 5, order your skills based on the industry that you're in. This is the one thing I will say, very much like your description, your about, and your headline. You want people at first glance to really understand what it is that you do and what skills you bring to the table. And of course, make sure that those are prioritized based on what your current work job is. And then order your skills so that folks in your industry can see them and they're very easy and available for endorsing. Which segues, hold on. Okay. We're going to get to endorsing in a minute, but I will say that having endorsements is very vital. I haven't done a great job with this on my profile, but after putting this together, I am going to go back and start requesting endorsements. And all that is just reaching out to individuals within your LinkedIn community and asking them to provide feedback on your job skill performance or a project that you worked on with that individual. It doesn't have to be a lengthy ask. I will say if you're requesting people to give you endorsements, then you should also be providing endorsements in return. It's kind of an exchange system. So to build more endorsements, you've got to give more. So it does take a little bit of time and work. And then your contacts and personal information. This one's really important, especially for people who maybe you're dropping in their inbox or they're just organically searching you. You want to make sure that your contact information is up to date. If you have links to your personal website, you want to make sure that you list those so that people can go and explore them. And I used mine as an example. You'll see that like my profile and background picture match very similarly to the homepage of my personal website so that it's a seamless user journey. If somebody clicks on my LinkedIn profile and then clicks on my website, it'll look and feel the same. And I think that's really important for people to see that there's some distinctness and that you put a lot of thought into the look and appearance of your LinkedIn profile. If you think that's all. Yeah, and then so into your profile building on honors and awards, and this is something that I've particularly taken a ton of interest on my own account, but of course, Mandy McEwen coming in for the clutch, she's got all of her awards listed out, but these don't necessarily have to be certifications or courses, which is the way that mine's really designed. It can also be volunteer experiences. It can be test scores, languages that you speak, publications that you've established. You really have a lot of freedom in this space to highlight what you want people to know about your accomplishments. I would say this should also really tie back and accompany to what your about section is. Keep your headlines, keep your keywords in mind here as well, because as LinkedIn's bots crawl your page and then optimize it for delivery, they're going to be very focused on those keywords. So you can get a lot more searchability by including more than just an award or one certification. Her space on her page was very lengthy. I don't know if that's necessarily best practice, but I would say if you had a few items to upload from some of these categories, I would encourage you to do so. And then there's also creating custom URLs. This one's really more for personal sharing, but it also does optimize you for endorsement and searching. So you can go in, change the actual URL that LinkedIn provided to you. You can use a combination of 5 to 30 letters and numbers. I wouldn't use any weird character spaces or symbols. The URL isn't case sensitive, which means you can capitalize or decapitalize. It isn't important. And then if your name is taken, sort of a pro tip, so say there's, another Jennifer Beaver in the world, and I can't utilize just Jennifer Beaver at the end of my URL, then you can play around with some of the search terms. So, if her original was taken Mandy McEwen, then you can try Mandy McEwen marketing or Mandy McEwen consulting. So again, use your keywords when you're thinking of URLs to optimize your search. And then this gets into what I said about endorsing. Recommendations are also really important. I would say you need to have good activity of endorsement and recommendations. Both of them are two-way door. You've got to give recommendations to receive recommendations. Sort of a pro tip if you're really trying to beef up your LinkedIn profile, set a personal goal for yourself of a minimum of 5 recommendations. So you're requesting 5 and you're providing 5 every month. And after a couple months, you'll see that you'll have a lot more activity and connections on your profile page just from doing that simple outreach. And if you're already working on current projects, or say you had a really stellar project from your previous employer, reach out to some of those connections that you have and really detail what your project was and what it was like to work on it and what your accomplishments are there. Keep keywords in mind here as well. Any questions on profile building before I move into publishing? Nope. Okay. So I really just wanted to highlight a couple types of posts that you can push out on LinkedIn that the algorithm prioritizes over just general link posting or one image sharing. Polls is a pretty new format for LinkedIn. I think there's a ton of different ways that you can utilize polls to spark conversation and engagement on your page. So say you read a really great article, it sparked a question for you about the industry that you work in or a specific topic within that industry, open up a poll. You can create the type of questions and responses. I will say polls are likely to be some of the most engaged posts on LinkedIn because people like to weigh in, they like to give their opinion. They like to share their thoughts. You can make this fun or as, professional as you want to. I could easily think of a couple polls that we could leverage on our national pages, about inequities in recovery, or how much money is dispersed in the federal system. You could make people guess, just so that they could kind of understand that there's a topic or a piece of what you do in your organization. I would say add up to 4 options for your answers. Make sure you have context, and that context can either be a stat that you read, an article that you're sharing. Make sure you include that in your actual post. And then use lead generation, again, back to those keywords. Your titles, your industry topics should all be very aligned and with the poll that you're using. And then the biggest pro tip I have here is to use your hashtags. So similar to what you put in the top of your headline of your LinkedIn, you want to put those at the end of your LinkedIn post. And hashtags just help that visibility. The algorithm also delivers them at a higher rate than any other kind of post. So a poll plus hashtags is a really great way to spark a conversation among your connections and gain new connections. Then we'll get into carousel posts. This is something that we've implemented in our publishing strategy on LinkedIn for the national pages. I'm honestly a little surprised because carousels don't do that well on every other platform, but for some reason, the LinkedIn algorithm prioritizes them. They're the second most popular post for engagement outside of polls. There's a multitude of ways that you can go about executing this type of post. It could be 7 pictures from your fabulous vacation. It could be a volunteer event where you've got multiple people working on a house project and you want to feature everybody who was in the project. Make sure you upload separate pictures. You can also do information sharing through carousels, which, it's sort of taking an infographic and breaking it down into multiple images. You can use Canva templates to build these, put your stats in there, put your context, again, keeping your keywords and your hashtags in mind. If you have any links that you want to share, make sure those are included in the top post copy. And if you want to tag people, that's also a really great way to get engagement. If you are publishing something on behalf of SBP, make sure you tag our national page. We'll like it, we'll engage with it, and that'll help others to engage with the content in the feed. And then you can also use like high-level briefs here. So, AmeriCorps recruitment is the easiest thing that comes to my mind, but say you've got 6 really stellar stats that, that you want to talk about, and it's a really great use case for exemplifying why AmeriCorps at SBP is a great program. You could create 5 to 6 stat slides and then sort of use that as your entree for your in-mail messaging. It's a great way for people to go back to your profile and outside of your professional experience, it helps them understand what type of projects, what type of initiatives you're leading. And then the last type of post that I'm going to talk about is video. And short form video is still a pretty new format for LinkedIn. I would say if you want to build a robust video, LinkedIn is probably not the key platform to do that on. There are others like Instagram Reels and TikTok that you can leverage for real video execution. But videos do get prioritized to some extent. There's a couple of caveats. You want to make sure they are short form video, meaning that they are 10 to 30 seconds long. No longer than that, people will not watch. Most folks look at their LinkedIn profile without their sound on. So unlike TikTok, where the audio is the key piece to engagement or video views, here you're going to want to make sure you include captions. There's an easy way to do that. There's a ton of video editors I think there's even one on most iPhones where you can bake in your content so people can watch with sound off. My big pro tip here is to keep your posts really raw and authentic. I think some of the best video examples I've seen from professionals on LinkedIn are folks that are out in the field that are actively doing something. Say you're at a conference, you're on a volunteer site, you're at a welcome home party. Those are great opportunities to create a quick little short 10 to 30-second video talking about where you are and what you're doing. And then, of course, include that context in your post copy. Any links that you want to include, put them in there as well. Of course, keep your keywords in mind. They're very, very, very important for every piece and part to your LinkedIn building. And then you also want to make sure that you give them the feeling of being live. For some reason, videos that feel live or on site or in the moment tend to perform better on LinkedIn. So something you would typically see in someone's stories feed, think of that as kind of the best content to optimize for video on LinkedIn. And I think that's all I have. That was super quick and I did a lot of quick talking. Does anybody have any questions?
My LinkedIn needs some work.
I felt exactly the same way when I finished building this deck. I was like, please don't go to mine and use it as an example. Well, while we have no questions, let me show you guys a couple new things that I learned.
Jen, while you pull it up, I do have a question, and I think it's probably subjective, but are there best practices around posting and engaging with like your own feed? And I say it as someone who's very much like a ghost, but an observer, but I imagine there's some degree of engagement or interaction outside of just what your profile states that's worth being intentional about. Do they have any recommendations for that?
Totally. That's a great question. So if you're not personally publishing engagement that you do with other people's content, an activity does show up on your profile and the algorithm does respond to that. So yeah, I would highly encourage folks to go to your company page, engage with that content, like it, share it. If you have a personal spend, sometimes that's the easiest way to produce content for your own personal page, is to take something that someone else has published, reshare it, put your 2 cents in the top of it, keep your keywords and your hashtags in mind, and then publish it as your own activity. And that's kind of a quick way where you don't have to build a ton of content of your own, but you're sharing your industry and your expertise. Engaging with other people's posts is great, but it's not going to give you the same amount of traffic to your personal LinkedIn page. So really doing your own publishing is kind of the best way to accomplish that. But yeah, definitely engage. Spark conversations. If you read a post and you have a question, create a poll from it. That's easy stuff that you can do. That doesn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes to publish, right? So you're not building posts from the ground up, you're utilizing what other people have published. Other questions? So back to my model star page. I did notice yesterday when I was looking at her profile, there's a couple new enhancements to LinkedIn, and I didn't want to neglect sharing those. So this notification button is pretty new to the platform. What this means is if you follow someone's page, say you are looking for someone to help you generate content for your page, you could easily go to that page, click this bell, and you'll get notified of any activity of that individual page or person. Say if you're hunting down an organization that you're trying to make a partnership or a deal with, turn your notifications on, because they can see that you're actively engaging with their content, and it'll sort of raise your awareness to the top of their mind. And then the other piece is using these video prompts and audio prompts. They're pretty spanking new, so I don't know a whole lot about them, but I would say this video prompt that's part of your profile, and maybe not everyone has this. I feel like she has a super deluxe version of LinkedIn, only because of what she does for a living. But her quick little video.
Hi, Mandy McEwen here from Mod Girl Marketing and Luminetics. Thank you so much for stopping by my profile. I provide B2B sales teams with predictable, scalable systems for generating qualified appointments on LinkedIn while growing their personal brands. Typically, this leads to 3x response rates in as little as 30 days. And I do this via my modern social seller training program. So if this sounds interesting, send me a message and we can chat.
So notice what she did there. She leveraged her keywords. She leveraged her top program and sales pieces. And then she also gave you a little background of who she is. How used this profile video button is, I could not find any stats on it, but I do think it's an interesting way to engage, particularly with a younger audience who leans into video information versus scrolling and reading. The kids like to watch, they don't like to read. So this is a great way to sort of leverage that opportunity. And then I believe this audio piece.
Hi, I'm Mandy McEwen. Thanks so much for stopping by my LinkedIn profile. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. Thanks.
Just a couple extra little tools that you could add. I don't think they're hard to activate or leverage. I may curiously add them to my own just to see what happens. But that gives a good note that, you know, LinkedIn is thinking about how people are searching profiles and the types of activity that users like to see in social media. And of course, short form video is about to be the king of all content media. So I think they're sort of leaning into that direction. And I think it would be smart to lean in that way if you're going to spend some time on your profile, because I think it would be very fruitful for the future. And that's really all I have for you guys.
What do you think they'll call it? So like Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikToks. What do you think LinkedIn will be?
There's no telling. I don't know if LinkedIn will ever truly go full video. I think Reels is a response to a IGTV failure, because that launched as a total failed tool. But it's more of a response to TikTok. I think Meta is acutely aware that their users are moving away from Facebook and Instagram and going to TikTok for the user experience. And I mean, I'll personally say, I don't go to Facebook outside of my job. I'm not scrolling there. I'm not looking. I am primarily on TikTok watching short form video. And I think people have learned that, you know, it's about entertaining. It's about evoking emotion, and video is a really great tool and vehicle to do that. I don't know what LinkedIn will call it, and I don't know if they'll ever truly go full video, only because there's that job aspect to it, right? So there's got to maintain a quorum of professionalism. I think when you open up video to everybody, notice it's really only in the top of your profile, and it's kind of hard to find. You know, if you didn't know what those buttons were, you probably wouldn't click them. I don't know, stay tuned. We should see what happens. I do think LinkedIn is going to have to respond, and this is their way of kind of dipping their toe in the video pool to see what happens. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm happy if anybody has like a keyword search question. I'm happy to help in that space. It's one of my favorite things to do. I can help you build a keyword bank or send you in the right direction if that's something that you're interested in doing. I would say put your personality into your profile. Remember that your profile is a reflection of your personal brand. And so you want to really showcase that to people. It also strengthens the overall organization. You know, when tons of people who work for SBP have amazing LinkedIn profiles, then it really showcases the caliber of talent that we have in our organization. And I think it makes recruitment a very simple and easy process. You know, if you click on 3 people's pages from the company and they're all very well baked out, very endorsed, very engaged, then people say, okay, these people really love what they do. And now I'm more curious to know more. Well, if there are not any other questions, I will let y'all have some time back. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. If there's particular social media learnings y'all want to have, I'm happy to host them. Every platform is very different and similar all at the same time. So again, happy to help anybody who needs, but please start with your keywords. It's a really important piece. If you learn nothing from this LinkedIn training, please take that away. And
Thanks,
with
Jen.
that, yeah,